Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to participate in this workshop, and I think it's very important to discuss in the setting of IMI how the private sector could contribute in a link with the public sector on preparedness for emerging diseases. As you all know, there has been plenty of involvement of the private sector during Ebola, but this had not been planned in advance. So the idea would be through IMI and other initiatives to plan in advance so that it's less disruptive for everybody when it starts to be needed. So my presentation, threats and risk at a global level. So it is to us no doubt that the Ebola epidemic has demonstrated that it is indeed possible to accelerate R&D during emergencies, and that it is feasible to safely and effectively implement research intervention in an affected country. This includes countries who were completely naive to any type of clinical research at the beginning of the epidemic. And as you know, there had been the three most affected countries all had GMP clinical trials at the end of the epidemic, and some results were obtained, and WHO in particular was in charge of implementing a project on evaluating the efficacy of an Ebola vaccine, and we did this in a large consortium, which was actually chaired by John Arney, just here with us. But it also highlighted the imperative to advance research and development preparedness and effective collaboration framework in advance of any new epidemic. And for this, the industry has been quite clear to the public sector. Say, we won't do this again. We are ready to engage, but this needs to be planned so that it does not disrupt our normal operation, and we don't have such a high opportunity cost that we had during Ebola. So our approach to that is in WHO is to develop what we called the R&D blueprint for actions to prevent epidemics. So our governing body, so the highest level of our governance at the World Health Organization, which is the World Health Assembly, where our 194 member states each have a vote, so have welcomed the development of this blueprint in consultation with them and other stakeholders, and ask us to continue to see how we can move the world more towards preparedness in view of other epidemic, knowing that it is no doubt that new epidemics will strike in the near future. And as we know, soon after Ebola, we already have had Zika. There is more and more Lassa in certain areas of the world. So this is not, we will not stay at the Ebola lessons. We need to move forward. So the vision of a blueprint is a world in which the response caused by a public health emergency of international concern, also called FAKE, caused by an emerging pathogen, to be faster and more effective, and in which the global community is able to ensure a continuous effort, not only to accelerate the result of research, but to adapt to the challenges that are specific to epidemics. So we want this to be an inclusive process, and many people have been associated to that, including in this room. We want to build on the efforts of others in the communities. It's not about starting from scratch or pretending that WHO can do it all. It's a collaborative effort with our member states in the affected countries at this core, so capacity building should be part of it, and it is driven by scientific knowledge. So we have three approaches. One is to improve coordination and foster an enabling environment. And in this, we have consultation, notably with Chatham House and Wellcome Trust, to see whether we can have a consensus on an effective governance and coordination framework, looking at innovative, transparent, and aligned funding processes. And for this, we are very happy to be observers on the board of GLOPID-R, and encourage more effective communication during an outbreak. The second area is about accelerating research and development processes. So this is about defining priority pathogen, and we have developed a methodology, and every year we will be reassessing the priority of the currently known emerging pathogen, or the ones that could come to develop epidemics. Develop R&D roadmaps for those priority pathogen to accelerate evaluation of diagnostic therapeutics and vaccines, and also outline appropriate regulatory and ethical pathway. I must say here that WHO does not intend to conduct research itself, but to facilitate research by others. The approach C is about developing new norms and standards adapted to the epidemic context. Here, we have a large study group where many stakeholders, experts participate, notably FDA, to look at appropriate clinical trial design for the priority pathogen. We will do it only for that. As many of you know, we have used during Ebola a design which was quite innovative called a ring vaccination, and not that we think or believe that ring vaccination is the panacea for every emerging disease, but we need to move further than thinking that placebo-controlled randomized double-blind clinical trial is the only answer to a scientific question. So this is one study design. The other one is looking at data and sample sharing. The third is anticipating advanced need to inform regulatory review and policy development, and notably looking at solution to the issue of liability that the industry has been very much wary of, should there be a need to deploy a medical countermeasure which would not have been fully tested or registered. So, early deliverable, we have in December last year, we have already published the list of our top emerging diseases, and these are the ones that you can see here. Since then, we have worked very closely with CEPI, and CEPI has agreed to work on the basis of the WHO list as the list for prioritizing their priority diseases. We are finalizing our methodology now, and we'll publish this methodology soon, and we'll undertake to do another priority setting in January next year. So we have also held a consultation on platform technologies, and we have had submission of ideas for platform technologies for vaccines, for diagnostics, for blood products, and we have shortlisted 6 priority platforms that we think are the most adapted to develop more generically countermeasures for emerging diseases. The result of this consultation is available on the WHO website. We have started to develop R&D roadmap for priority pathogen. The first one that we have been working on was on MERS. This has been largely consulted and is available, has now been published. This has been done in consultation with experts, with funders, with research institutions, with manufacturers, so that to try to outline for the funders which would be the most important priority for moving forward. Of course, this has been a little bit, the work on MERS has been a little bit challenged by the arrival of Zika, but we are now starting again to work for roadmaps on the other priority pathogen, and the 2 next that we will be working on are Congo and Lassa. As I said, we have also some work on governance and coordination. These logos are just representative of so many different institutions which were in the field for Ebola, and as you can imagine, it's very difficult to have harmonious coordination when it is not planned in advance. And many projects have come to Ministries of Health, coming through the window, the chimney, the keyhole, and we really think that something should be done in order to have a better way of coordinating. We have been working also on data sharing, and following a consultation that we had in September 2015, the ICGME, which, as you know, is the syndicate of the main journals for medical research, have changed their recommendation in terms of dissemination of information, and they have agreed that in the event of a public health emergency, then the information which has immediate implication for public health should be disseminated. It's not that it can, that it should be disseminated, without concern that it would preclude subsequent consideration for publication in a journal. You remember that in a few instances, this has been a barrier for prompt sharing. Let me take favipiravir, for example. We all knew that there were results, some were available, but they were not really made publicly available before the publication came out. So this should not happen anymore. Since then, WHO has also changed our own policy on sharing of data in emergencies, and we have now a procedure that in emergencies, the data that come from our member states will be made available freely, so that more groups and modeling groups can use it to model important functions of this epidemic. We have had a consultation in Oslo on financing options. This stream of work is now finished, but this has also been the opportunity to feed into the development of CEPI, for example. So, the R&D blueprint represents WHO's new start for better R&D preparedness. We think that it can be resolved, and let's resolve it together. Thank you very much.